Magical thinking. Some people live their lives as if luck is running the show. They wear the same lucky socks to every test, avoid walking under ladders, or believe a certain color brings the money. It feels harmless, even kind of funny, but it's actually a sign of low critical thinking. Instead of looking at real cause and effect, magical thinking relies on superstition. Psychologists say this comes from the brain confusing coincidence with patterns. Maybe once you wore those socks and something good happened, and now your brain links the two forever. Smarter minds pause and ask, what's the actual evidence here? Lower intelligence skips that step and builds habits out of pure belief. Depending on charms and hunches to guide your choices might make life feel easier, but it also means you're not really using logic. In the end, the universe isn't rigged to your sock choices. Chronic sleep neglect. You tell yourself you're fine on 4 hours of sleep. Maybe you brag about it. Maybe you scroll on your phone until 3 a.m. and then crawl out of bed like a zombie. The truth, skipping sleep doesn't make you tough. It makes you slower. Research shows that lack of sleep damages memory, attention, and decision-making. In fact, after a night without rest, your brain works about as well as if you were drunk. Smarter people know their brain is their most important tool, so they guard their sleep like gold. Lower intelligence often shows up in the form of treating rest like it's optional, then wondering why nothing gets done the next day. If you're constantly sacrificing sleep for no good reason, it's not genius, it's self-sabotage. Because at the end of the day, running on an empty tank doesn't make you powerful. Avoiding time alone. Some people just cannot stand silence. If the TV isn't on, the music's not playing, or friends aren't around, they start to panic. Being alone with their own thoughts feels unbearable. So they constantly fill the space with noise and distractions. The problem, that habit can signal low intelligence. Smart people usually use alone time to think, reflect, and solve problems. But if you always need background noise or company, it might mean there's not much happening upstairs when things get quiet. Psychologists say that intelligent minds often prefer solitude because it gives them room to process ideas. Lower intelligence, on the other hand, looks for constant stimulation to avoid boredom. If you can't sit with yourself for even a few minutes without reaching for a screen or calling someone, it's not because you're social. It might just mean your brain struggles when it's finally asked to do the heavy lifting. Although this has been heavily skewed in recent years due to people's ability to fill every silence with their phones, living on small talk. Some people can talk for hours without saying anything. It's always about the weather, the traffic, or what they had for lunch. Sure, a little small talk is normal, but if that's the only conversation you ever have, it can be a red flag. Intelligent people usually crave deeper discussions, ideas, questions, possibilities. Sticking only to surface-level chatter often signals a lack of curiosity or critical thinking. Psychologists call it low need for cognition, basically not enjoying effortful thought. And while chatting about the rain is fine as an icebreaker, never moving past it makes you look shallow. If your best line at a party is, "Wow, can you believe it's already Friday?" and you have nothing else to add, you're just filling silence. Smart people see small talk as a door. Confidence without content. You've probably met someone who talks like they're the smartest person in the room, but the moment you listen closely, there's nothing there. They speak loudly, interrupt others, and explain things they don't actually understand. This is a classic sign of low intelligence. Real smart people ask questions, admit when they don't know something, and try to learn. But lower intelligence often hides behind confidence, using tone and volume instead of substance. Psychologists call this the Dunning-Kruger effect. People who know the least often think they know the most. So while they're busy lecturing everyone on topics they barely understand, sharper minds are quietly analyzing and actually learning, blindly following instructions. Some people will do exactly what the manual says, even when it makes no sense. If the IKEA guide shows a screw going into thin air, they'll still try to force it. If a recipe says bake for 20 minutes, but the food is clearly raw, they'll eat it anyway. This isn't discipline. It's a lack of critical thinking. Smarter minds test, adapt, and improvise when things don't add up. Lower intelligence sticks to the page, even if it leads off a cliff. Studies point out that low IQ often comes with rigid thinking, an inability to adjust when reality doesn't match the plan. Instructions are supposed to guide you, not replace your brain, falling for conspiracies and superstitions. Some people truly believe the Earth is flat, vaccines have microchips, or that their bad day happened because of a planet's position in the sky. This isn't open-mindedness. It's low critical thinking. Conspiracies and superstitions are comforting because they give simple answers to complicated problems. Instead of digging for facts, people accept the first explanation that feels exciting or dramatic. This is called a mental shortcut. The brain is lazy, so it prefers easy stories over messy truths. Smarter minds question and double-check it before believing. Lower intelligence tends to say, well, I saw it online, so it must be true. The problem is that superstition and conspiracy thinking stop people from solving real issues. Rigid thinking. Some people treat their routines and beliefs like stone tablets that can never be changed. If something new comes along, whether it's a better way to work, a new piece of technology, or even just a different opinion, they shut it down instantly. This kind of my way or no thing attitude is often a sign of low intelligence. Smart people can adapt. They ask questions, try things out, and adjust when the facts change. But rigid thinkers cling to the old way just because it's familiar. Psychologists say this comes from mental inflexibility, an inability to handle uncertainty or complexity. Life is full of surprises, and if your brain can't bend, it breaks. If your first response to every change is that's not how we do things, you're not proving you're wise. You're proving you're stuck, always seeking instant gratification. Some people just can't wait. If they want a snack, they grab junk food instead of cooking. If they want something new, they buy it on credit instead of saving. If work feels boring, they drop it for a quick scroll on their phone. This constant need for instant rewards is a classic sign of low intelligence. Smarter minds are better at delaying gratification. They can push through discomfort now to get something better later. But lower intelligence struggles with patience and long-term planning. Psychologists have shown in studies like the famous marshmallow test that kids who couldn't wait often grew up to have more problems with school, money, and health. If you're always chasing the quickest fix, it doesn't mean you're living well. It means you're living short-sighted. Real brain power is knowing that the best rewards take time. Poor listening habits. We've all talked to someone who never really listens. They interrupt, talk over you, or nod while clearly waiting for their turn to speak. This isn't just bad manners. It can be a sign of low intelligence. Listening is more than hearing words. It's about processing ideas and understanding perspectives. Smarter people know they can learn something new from almost anyone, so they pay attention. But lower intelligence often shows up as impatience or the assumption that they already know everything worth saying. There is a link between poor listening and weak comprehension skills. When the brain struggles to follow complex thoughts, it tunes out instead. If you constantly cut people off or forget what they just said, you're not proving you're quick. You're proving your brain isn't keeping up. Listening is one of the simplest ways to grow. Refusing to do it shows you're not interested in growth at all. Dismissing new ideas instantly. You probably know someone who says, "That's dumb," or "That'll never work." The moment they hear something new, they don't ask questions. They don't think it over. They just shut it down. This knee-jerk reaction is often a sign of low intelligence. Smarter people keep an open mind. They may not accept every idea, but they at least consider the possibilities before deciding. Lower intelligence, on the other hand, avoids the effort of thinking and chooses the easy route: rejection, excessive TV, and doom scrolling. There's nothing wrong with relaxing and watching a show or checking your feed, but when hours slip away every single day, it can be a sign of low intelligence. Smart people usually balance entertainment with learning, creating, or problem-solving. Lower intelligence often shows up as endless passive consumption, letting the brain rot instead of using it. Science warns that constant scrolling trains your mind to crave short bursts of dopamine, making it harder to focus on deeper tasks. Instead of reading a book, learning a skill, or having a real conversation, you end up trapped in an endless loop of clips, memes, and reruns. The more time you spend zoning out, the less energy your brain has for growth. If your main daily achievement is finishing a season or finishing your For You page, you're on mental autopilot, blindly following trends. Think about that one friend who changes their whole personality every time a new trend comes along. One month they're wearing Nike because TikTok said so. The next they're suddenly obsessed with Adidas. And last week they were filming themselves dancing in a grocery store for no reason. They never stop to ask if they actually like these things. They just copy what everyone else is doing. This isn't creativity. It's a lack of critical thinking. Smarter people pause and ask, does this trend even make sense? Do I want it, or am I just copying? But lower intelligence thrives on going with the herd. It's called the herd mentality. following others to feel safe. If your entire identity changes with whatever's trending, try to change it. Bro on the game. We've all got that own friend who's always on the game, but somehow still terrible at it. He's online every night, headset on. But when the match starts, he misses every shot, forgets the objectives, and blames lag for everything. Spending hours playing doesn't make you skilled. It just shows how little you're actually learning. Smarter players pick up patterns, adapt strategies, and improve over time. Your buddy is stuck at level 1, repeating the same mistakes like it's muscle memory. If the game keeps teaching you lessons and you keep ignoring them, that's not dedication. It's proof you're